Okay, I'm good.
Funbelt Podcast Week 1 is in the books, guys. It was craziness all around college football with LSU losing their fifth straight opener and third straight in a neutral site game, this time in Vegas. I knew people there. They said that Vegas wasn't ready for them. There wasn't enough alcohol. There wasn't enough beer.
Not
They
enough
didn't know what to do
alcohol
with a
in
bunch of
Vegas? Oh my
they
god.
didn't know what to do with a bunch of Tiger fans running around, running amok, more so than normal.
Uh-huh.
Guys, what'd y'all see overall in college football for week 1?
Well, I felt a little bit not vindicated, but I always hate these preseason polls, right, from the AP, and they put Florida, Florida State at number 2, and they are now 0-2. And it just makes me think this is why you don't have an AP poll at the preseason because you haven't seen the games. Just stop with the poll. Just wait for a month. Let the stream clear a little before we start anointing teams number 10 in the country.
I kind of am with you. I used to not be like, because I mean the AP poll is supposed to be meaningless. It's supposed to just be fun, like, hey, this is what we think, like, let's talk about it, whatever.
Yeah.
But now that we have another poll and it's just a poll that picks who gets a chance to play for the national championship, it's different. I mean, the AP poll still isn't officially part of that. The coaches poll isn't part of that, but it does kind of suck because it does get into people's heads. It does. I mean,
Yeah.
it influences things a little bit. They're going to look similar when that other one comes out in October. They're going to look similar. So it has to be a little bit of groupthink involved. And yeah, I mean, if they started saying, hey, we're not going to do it until the playoff poll comes out, I wouldn't argue with it at this point.
Yeah, even if they waited 3 weeks or so, I'd be happier. Because why is Clemson still in there? Do they look like a top 25 team? I don't know. I know they played Georgia, but still, Jesus.
So the team I felt the worst for though was Florida, where they got waxed by Miami, and then I don't know if you saw the post game. Billy Napier could not open his bottle of water even to try to drown out the whatever words he was trying to say of how his team is, on the upswing or whatever. I don't even know. I couldn't concentrate. All I saw was him on the struggle bus trying to open his water.
Yeah, and what's sad about that, Tibbs, is that guy. It's not like he's like some weak old man. It's not like it's Terry Bowden out there trying to.
I mean, he's not Coach Schmedium, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he's a big guy, and he just got owned by that water bottle.
Yeah, and took a lot of heat for talking about people in rural Florida basements and their comments, taking some heat, not just for calling out the fans, but also for insinuating that people in Florida have basements, which they do not.
Nobody in Florida has a basement. He's not a Florida man. Yeah,
he is not a Florida man. He should have stayed in Lafayette.
Yeah, where he was
kept riding that Vermilion wave.
He's not a cultural fit like Brian Kelly at LSU.
No, that's
because he doesn't have any accent.
Someone said he's the most boring man in the most exciting program. I thought, yeah, that's about right. Why is he? How did this matchup take place?
So, guys, in bringing it home to the Sun Belt Conference, I think we had some pretty good games. Yeah, I don't think there was really any major upsets, although we'll talk about games that impressed, games that didn't impress, whatever the opposite thereof impression would be. And I'm going to start on the negative Nancy side and say the game that I was least impressed with, Georgia Southern. They did everything they could to stay in that game, but their defense was MIA, so much so that Ashton Gentry ran for not 2, not 4, Jeremy. 6 trips to the end zone.
And I believe that was a Broncos record too. So,
and that's with those incredible running backs and running attacks that they've had in the past. And they went to Statesboro and they didn't drain the swamp, they drained the ditch.
Yeah, I thought what was disappointing about that, Tibbs, perfect opportunity to show the world that the Sun Belt was superior over Mountain West. You got the Broncos coming into Statesboro, where it's tough to play. You've got pretty exciting Georgia Southern team waiting for them. And even though it was a shootout, I didn't get to watch the game. I'm sure it was entertaining to watch, but in the end, disappointing that we couldn't get that win. Also, ODU not quite sealing the deal with South Carolina, even though, yeah, they were expected to lose. Would have been nice if they found a way to win that game.
And they were right there at it. I don't know how the hell the dude how Grant Wilson fumbled, but it looked on replay like he handed it off to the South Carolina player, and the South Carolina player graciously accepted the gift and fell down, and from there the Gamecocks were able to punch it in the end zone.
Well, you know, Grant Wilson's from Fordham, and that's how they do it in Fordham. You may not have known that.
Well, yeah. Shane, what game was maybe a little lackluster to you this weekend?
I gotta say it was my two West favorites that we pumped up. You know, it's going to be Texas State, it's going to be Arkansas State, and then they squeak by their FCS opponents. It's a little concerning. You don't want to make too much of a victory in week one, but you know, a win's a win. But I expected a little more impressive showing from both of those teams.
Yeah, there was a lot of FCS teams doing pretty well. But yeah, you're right, Shane. That was pretty tough on the Sun Belt West.
See how Jeremy just jumps in there because he doesn't want us to bring up that not only did Central Arkansas have to beat the Red Wolves, they had to beat the Zebras as well in order to get that last second mysterious touchdown by Corey Rucker in the corner of the end zone.
Yeah, I have to admit, I went through many stages of emotion on that. You know, when I first saw it live, felt like it was not a complete pass. As the replays were going on, I was thinking this feels like a complete pass. Felt good when it was called. Felt good all day. You know, I don't understand why the Sun Belt just suddenly feels like they have to put out a statement about it. I don't know what the purpose of that was. You know, do you have to put out a press release to say, oh, yeah, the officials got it wrong on our team? Have you ever seen that before? I don't really recall seeing that. Maybe it happens. Okay.
It happens, especially since, I don't know, you saw the UCA coach basically came out and said that he'd gotten a call from them, you know, saying that it was wrong. So I wasn't surprised at all that there was a statement put out because it was in the news. And
well, there's a lot of people in Arkansas upset about it. I'll grant you that, but I'll tell you who's the most upset. It's not the UCA fans. It's the University of Arkansas fans. Those guys are trash talking about this left and right on me. I'm like, why do you guys care? What does this have bearing on you? Not at all. But that's who the UCA Bears fans. They're not trash talking at all. I mean, they're upset. They're like, hey, man, we should have won the game. But it's the Hogs fans that are causing the most consternation. They seem just really concerned about the Bears not getting their full due. But yeah, you're right, Shane. That was a tough road to hoe for both Texas State as well. Tibbs, you were at that game, or at least
I was there. Yeah, I was there till half, and then had to bail out because it was a little past the bedtime there. And
I guess sleepy. It's past the bedtime for the Bobcats.
More so, but I'll say this: that opening quarter with Jordan McLeod and Maldi in the backfield, that is a cheat code just waiting to happen. It was not fair. It was fun and fantastic to watch. Joey Hobart is also another freak at the receiver position, but that offense, when it's clicking, is dangerously scary, fun, good to watch.
So what do you think happened in the second half?
I think that they thought they had it won. Ooh. And you let off the gas. They tried to play a little depth. They tried to play Martinez there, their backup quarterback, for quite a bit in the first half. Was able to somewhat move the ball, but not really as effectively as McLeod. So I think that that's maybe a concern down the road when McLeod is maybe injured or even just a little fatigued later on in the year. But yeah, it was not a good second half for the Bobcats. Still able to pull it out against Lamar. Lamar now in the receiving votes for the FCS top 25 after that game, though.
Well, good for them. Well done, Lamar.
And the Sugar Bears moved up after their loss to Arkansas State.
I'll give the Sugar Bears all the credit that's due. Those guys have a good team.
Yeah, I gotta say I got a little bit mixed emotions about the whole thing. Because you got to remember, too, Arkansas State, the last time they had taken the field, they had gotten screwed on the last play. So it's tough. You feel really bad for UCA, but there's a little bit, mixed emotions. And you also got to remember the Red Wolves would have had another shot at it. They'd had second down.
Thank you, Shane Medlin, for bringing that up.
It's tough to have it in that way because we'll never know what would have happened.
A drop kick's only worth 2 points, though. Just saying.
Corey Rucker, who did get credit for that reception, did say at the end of the game that they were going to pretty much do the exact same play again. So we could have seen a repeat of that play had it been allowed, had it been necessary, but it wasn't necessary because the referees called the play good. So there you go. I don't know what the big deal is. The
technically no. The referee said incomplete, and then upon review, and as we learned, without looking at all the camera angles, assumed that it was a catch.
Yeah, you know what? It's really not my place to say whether it was a catch or not, Tibbs. I just see the number one on the left side of the hash, and I assume that everything's on the up and up.
God, I wish I was as head in the sand as you there, Jeremy. One other game there of disappointment and no shock there. The Jaguars. Gia Lopez goes for 432 yards, and still the defense cannot make a stop against North Texas as they fall 52-38.
Nah, you got to think Major Applewhite was pounding the desk Kelly style after that game. You know what, Tibbs? I thought that game was dismaying, but more dismaying was Troy having that 14-point lead against Nevada, a team that nobody really expected much from this season. They're at home at Veterans Stadium, and Nevada comes up and wins 28-26. Should Troy be worried, Shane Metlin?
Possibly. I mean, it's just maybe Nevada was a little underrated coming into the season, looking at their results so far. But, I mean, there's going to be question marks about Troy when you lose the people who basically took you to 2 conference championships. That whole crew's gone. I mean, there's still a lot there, and it's, not a complete culture change or anything like that, but there's going to be question marks. I mean, is it going to be similar transition that kind of Louisiana has experienced over the past few years?
Could be. Yeah.
So we talk letdowns, the games that impressed. Shane, what games were you just keen on going, yeah, I expected that, or I was kind of impressed by that?
Well, I half joked about it before we started recording, but the Thursday games were great. The Saturday games were not as good, but Thursday, I think the league had to be thrilled with the results. Coastal just ran all over the place, ran and threw it all over the place on Jacksonville State. I mean, who we think is going to compete for the CUSA championship. That was a really, really impressive win by them. And then let's give ULM a lot of credit. They took on their FCS opponent and they didn't leave it for the last possession. They took care of Jackson State and looked pretty good and got a win and got the Brian Vincent era started the right way, and I think have a little momentum going into UAB this week.
I agree. I thought that Coastal Carolina game was one of the highlights there of the early going, with Ethan Vasco coming in 249 passing for 2 touchdowns and ran for another one. He did have the 1 pick, but even Noah Kim, their backup, came in and had a touchdown pass there late in the game as well. I was impressed with Coastal Carolina. I mean, I'm not too big to say that it was a surprise. I fully expected the Teal to be laying down, and they definitely did not, at least in week 1. We'll have to see what they do in week 2, but for now, they were definitely one of the teams that impressed.
Tibbs, did you think that? Yeah, yes. I'm not taking anything from Coastal. Coastal came in to that town and took care of business. But did Jacksonville State just look kind of bad? I mean, they couldn't seem to get anything right. So I'm a little surprised because they're supposed to be one of the top teams in CUSA, and they didn't look it.
They're no Liberty, but they were definitely the number 2 team in Conference USA, and yeah, they did not look good. They at any angle, any facet of the game, they just did not look like the Jacksonville State from last year or what was expected coming into this year.
Yeah, and who knows? Maybe that's because Coastal made them look bad. I couldn't quite decide what that was. As far as ULM, I was talking to Tibbs earlier, and I was like, you know what? You never thought that Jackson State in that game, like Jackson State played well, but you never thought that ULM was losing control of that game. And I was really impressed with how Vincent had that team ready for that game. I don't know if ULM's going to win a lot, but Vincent's going to be a good, cerebral, sort of no-nonsense guy at that position. He's going to have the team ready. I don't know if he has the talent yet, but he's certainly going to be prepared. And I was impressed with what I saw with the Warhawks.
Yeah, I think ULM, I think they have a chance this week against UAB. I think they really do.
I do, yeah.
I also could see them, maybe not winning many more games the rest of the year and still showing a lot of improvement and being clear that they're on the right path. Just from what we saw Thursday night, I was impressed. I thought completely different looking program with Brian Vincent. It wasn't, one of the lasting images for me from last year's ULM team was quarterback running out of bounds on the last play of the game when he could have thrown it up in the air to at least tried to score it, and instead just runs out of bounds like that. I don't think we're going to see that kind of thing.
No. Now Vincent just seems to have things pegged down. What do you think, Tibbs?
The best part was watching the ESPN broadcast, and we will definitely have the great legendary Sean Fox on at one point, the play-by-play guy for the video broadcast. It took everything I could not to just bust out laughing when he's doing his play-by-play calls and says, "Booty, pumps." You have no idea what just happened on the field because you have tears in your eyes.
But there's going to be a lot of great booty calls, that's for sure.
and then some. But I think that what was important there was he just the ooh and ah impressive guy, General Booty, that is? No. But he didn't do anything that put the game in jeopardy. He didn't do anything where you're like, golly, this kid's supposed to be so much better. He did what a quarterback is supposed to do. Make the right plays, make the right calls, and do enough to give his team the chance to win. And that's exactly what he did. Sure, he threw for 104 yards, 10 of 14 passing, had like a 30, 40-yard scamper downfield. Again, just put his team in the right positions to win. The one that I was most impressed with out of that game, though, was Ahmad Hardy, a true freshman who was not on my depth chart that I had going into the season, rushes for 103 yards and a touchdown. That means that we are more loaded at running back than even I thought that we were.
Yeah, that's a little hope to look out for, sure. I also wanted to point out, too, if we're talking about teams that impressed, I don't know if this is impressive, guys, but 3 teams really did take care of FCS business: Appalachian State, Marshall, and the Cajuns. We talked about the struggles that some people in the West had, but quite frankly, those 3 teams, they, even though, what was it, Stony Brook, East Tennessee, East Tennessee State, and Grambling, yeah, that's it. Aren't the best of teams. They certainly didn't have any struggles, and that's probably made their fans feel pretty good about them.
Yeah, I didn't quite put Marshall in my Fun Belt 5. I tried to base it mainly on the results from
Yeah.
the past week. But I think you got to give Marshall a lot of credit for, the amount of turnover they've got. There's been question marks at quarterback. They took care of business. I mean, that's what they got to do right now. They're trying to get back to what we expect Marshall football to be, and blowing out a team like Stony Brook is the first step towards doing that.
Yeah, first of all, you got to temper some expectations. Stony Brook didn't win a game last season.
Yeah.
But that still doesn't mean they don't put on the pads and play football like everybody else. And they really did show that, or Marshall did show that they're ready to play some football. And it looks like they have 2 quarterbacks to play with.
The last team that really impressed me, it was scary, but I was glad that he survived. Shane, did Barnett make it to the post-game press conference after receiving CPR from his offensive lineman?
He did.
In the game.
He did. You'll be happy to know too that he showed up to class this morning, and
Good, thank God.
the professor played the video for the class.
No, so there are no ill effects from the flop.
No concussion, no the bone bruises, no torn liver, none of that.
No, he seems to be doing okay. Thank goodness for Joseph Simmons being there to administer the emergency CPR. Otherwise, who knows what would have happened.
I'll say this though, as great as that was, that tells me that even with under Chesney, this team is relaxed. They're having fun playing the game, and they're not taking themselves too seriously. And that's what makes them really a dangerous team, is that they're playing really well together right now and having fun playing the game.
Yeah, I mean, just take Barnett as an example. He got the start in the opener last year too. The JMU fans will remember that. I don't know if everybody who follows the Sun Belt will. And didn't play very well in the first half. He was 1 for 6 to start this game. Last year, he was just waiting to get pulled. Like, they stopped throwing the ball. He stayed in. He got a series or two in the third quarter, but they were just running right up the gut. They completely scrapped the playbook. This year, you could tell. I mean, he's loose enough to do that because he's not thinking he's going to get pulled, even though he didn't get off to the greatest start. He ends up putting up fairly decent numbers in the second half. I mean, second half numbers were great. I mean, decent numbers for the entire game after that slow start. So
it wouldn't be a show without a frozen Shane.
Actually, a really good sign for him.
All right, Shane's back. Okay, all right, we got him. Shane, we lost you for a second there, but that's it.
Oh, you lost me? I had a really good rant there. No.
We got most of it, didn't we, Tibbs?
I feel like when I'm a kid and, you had to put the tinfoil and you had to touch the antenna a certain way to catch the game. I feel like we're like that now with Shane, that we got to adjust the rabbit ears. We got to get some more tinfoil.
Oh, it's going a lot better on my iPad than it was. I don't know what happened there, but I didn't lose you guys, so that's a much better situation.
If only we could lose Jeremy.
You can't lose me. I'm going to be here.
So closing out on week number 1 of Sunbelt Conference actions, everyone still feel pretty good about their teams and about this kind of being a maybe 4-team race now with App State, Coastal in the East. Do we still feel good about Texas State and Arkansas State in the West? Or do you feel that there's maybe a little bit of a shakeup?
I feel like the Cajuns have done enough to kind of show that they're at least ready to play some winning football. I'm still not convinced on Coastal Carolina. I hope the Chanticleers don't send a hitman to kill me for that. Like to see what they do this week with their game coming up. But it's week 1. It's really hard to gauge, don't you think, Shane? I mean, there's not enough data.
Yeah, there's always somebody who looks the exact opposite of what they did week 1 and week 2, and it could go either way. It could be somebody who was impressive and they blow it the next week, or it could be somebody who came out of the gate really slow and they look 100% better in week 2. And I'm not sure if I can pinpoint who it's going to be that has that complete reversal of the Sun Belt this week. Yeah, maybe Texas State or Arkansas State, because I do have continue to have high expectations for those teams.
Yeah, I'm not going to lose those expectations. But I will say that I feel a little better about the Monarchs. They played defensively. They played great against South Carolina. They had their leading tackler wasn't Jason Henderson. He only had 3 tackles. The leading tackler was a safety who had 9. I mean, those guys can play some defense, and I think they're playing at home next week. So I feel better about ODU.
Yeah. I don't think I learned anything about ULM more so than I did kind of going into the season. Other than, like I said, they're definitely deeper at running back than what I originally thought. Still feel good about the West being kind of the 2-man show, but with the Cajuns really looking good defensively, able to show some good things offensively. Maybe it's up to a 3-man show on the West. East, I still have full confidence in Sean Clark and App State. I know that they go into the buzzsaw of Clemson this upcoming weekend, and Clemson's going to be pissed. So my hope is that App State can have a great showing for it and that they are able to really put on a good enough show to get us another big P5 win for the Sun Belt Conference. And with that, it is time for plugs, promos, and parting shots. Shane, tell us all about the Daily News Record.
I want to know more.
Well, you can read about, what happened with the flop seen around the world. No, that was probably going to be part of my parting shot until we got into it with this.
Oh, we ruined your parting shot.
I don't know, but no, I mean, I think I'll just say I kind of love week 1. Week 0 is okay.
Mm-hmm.
The rest of the season's great. I kind of love week 1, where it comes over the holiday weekend and it's sort of spread out. You get some like random games on like Thursday and Friday, but there's a good chunk on Saturday, and then you get to Sunday, Monday, like a game or two here. You just really get to like dive fully in to college football, and I liked having those 2 Sun Belt games on Thursday when the weekend was coming up, and still had to get the kids to school on Friday morning, but I didn't mind staying up a little late knowing we were going to get an extra day off like down the road. Like I like week 1 and the way it's set up. I wouldn't want to have tons of weekday games to follow every week, but for week 1, I like that it's just basically 5 straight days of college football.
Jeremy, what do you have to close us out?
Well, we touched on it when we talked about Arkansas State. We talked about a little bit about what happened last December. It was a couple days before Christmas. The Red Wolves took on Northern Illinois at the Camellia Bowl, and it was a defensive rock fight. Both teams having trouble putting up points. About 12 minutes through the fourth quarter, the Huskies had a 21-13 lead. Jalen Rayner, you might have heard of him, the freshman quarterback for Arkansas State, led a charge down the field, capped off an 8-play, 86-yard drive with a 13-yard touchdown strike to Corey Rucker. The 2-point conversion was not good, but that put Arkansas State with a chance to win if they get this onside kicks. Now, you might say your chances for winning hinges on an onside kick, you have already lost, because collecting an onside kick is less of a skill and more like a clown car crashing into a telephone pole and discovering oil. But still, a chance is a chance. And when the football left the kicker's foot, it was evident to everyone that the Red Wolves had recovered. Everyone, except to one man, a referee who flagged A-State offsides. There was no review, but Butch Jones called timeout twice to make his opinion known. Northern Illinois would win the game, and Arkansas State would finish the season 6-7, all because of a blown call. Except the blown call wasn't why Arkansas State lost. The team lost because it neglected to take advantage of opportunities or failed to execute at the proper moments. What contributed more than the loss, what contributed more to that loss than that errant call was that the Red Wolves failed to spot a trick play from a kicker who set up for a 42-yard field goal when it was clear that that kicker wasn't even capable of nailing one from the 10. Everybody knew the trick play was coming except Arkansas State. who watched helplessly as the kicker completed a 32-yard pass for a touchdown. My point is that one blown call doesn't win or lose you a game. Victory or defeat is determined by a culmination of events that transpire during the entirety of the game. I'm not sure why I mentioned this now. I just want you to leave with that thought.
I have a feeling we'll be reminding you of this at some point.